amount to rent an apartment, a room, not an apartment. So they were not they were needed in Rome, but they were not paid enough to leave the city. So the only chance they had is to build this kind of a very formal settlement. And we came up with this, and we came up with the story of the people. We tried in the first place, we started to break in a little bit the mediatic system. But then the criminalization went forward because one criminal act, the murdering of a lady near one of those campments, brought again the hypocrisy of the general terror that these people generate. So I started a campaign from a progressive government at the time, the progressive government of the city of Rome, a campaign of eviction. So we're talking about, we met person by person, we met 1,200 people. And they evicted the mayor in the last campaign that he lost, was very proud to evicted almost 6,000 people. And we heard from people that they've been evicted in a few months, several times. So they were just, and we felt very uncomfortable that not just because it was an ex-communist mayor, not just because it's a progressive attitude, but just accepting this idea, abstract, ideological idea, and not feeling that these were people, that men, women, children were just people, and nobody was attempting to get to know their story. So we started to provide a system, provide tools for their self-representation, and also trying to enabling their capabilities. Most of them were workers for builders, and they knew exactly how to build a house, and stuff like that.
Oh, well, picking up on that, because you are saying they are, most of them work in certain industries, and many times I imagine, because I also work in certain ways with marginal, let's say, settlements in this context, I understand them as service sector, as service communities in a sense. So there is a notion that some of these groups might be interpreted as nomadic communities of labor in a sense, because so that's already an issue of interface with certain systems. And so on one hand, how is that, how can that be a point of, or an element to work with? I mean, the issue that they provide a service, a kind of access to cheap labor to certain industries, the accountability, let's say, that the government must have to understand that they serve a function. Is that something that you have explored in understanding what is the interface between these enclaves or these settlements and the actual, official cities in a sense?
Yeah, we've been trying, but really the wall of media on that was very strong. Where really there was no willing to understanding this issue, also because, as everywhere, the power of builders it is very strong. And also, there were one of in those years, the value of houses in Rome augmented of 150, 200%. I mean, just it became a financial issue, not more an inhabit problem. And also there were so many problems ahead. The cooperation, like inhabitants. I mean, why inhabitants were criminalizing? So we felt as main problem, the problem of making local communities and Roma communities start dialogue. Because in the 90s, the whole process of the right wing to get on power was putting up fire on the fact that those Roma people were kind of depressing the quality of life of the neighborhoods, were kind of putting down the value of houses. And so we had the first racist act with sometimes some camps had been put on fire. So now we start, now that the system is changing, now that even the progressive government has been changing, has been fell, and there is again a conservative government. Local communities, the only thing they learned that we're trying to make them understand, but they understand on their own, that they share the same kind of treatment by the system itself. So now the question is, you understand? So they kind of have the same problematics. There is this kind of enclavization of the city into a dispersed urban environment with no more social networks, with more, we cannot call it the city anymore. And one of these, the model, the video surveillance, sometimes it's exclusive, sometimes it's for exclusion, but anyway, the model of the camp, it's basically turned into the model of the city. So now what we are doing in these days, nowadays, it's linking the experience, linking local community movements together with gypsy communities. And we're trying also to forget about to step forward the historical, political, oppositional, try to get people involved and politically involved on a personal level. Try to make them understand we're talking about people. Try to make the discourse far away. It's not an ideological position, but it's just people's life and possible solution. I mean, the house we were building was less expensive than a container, was built by their own, and so was providing them work, and was built the way they wanted to be, because after 30 years of camp, it's very hard to say also, how do you want to live? I mean, you don't know. They don't know. So they kind of, by making it, you know, they kind of create the environment they're looking forward. So this is, and conscious that this changed their attitude, but somehow it's good that this, we believe that we all, in this very moment of crisis, have to look forward a kind of social transformation. But this cannot start, I mean, Lisa was saying it before, cannot start by principle. It has to start by personal engagement in a personal transformation, and by small little projects that can be driven out and can give example to, doesn't matter who was as a politician, right? Great, this is left. I mean, there's just some politicians, they think they can think for others. Some other politicians, they start thinking that people, it's better if they think on their own, and they can be a long way more helpful in handling the city transformation.
I think one more question?
There is a question over there.
Yes,
Lisa,
Mr. Matias.
Yeah, I have a very pragmatic question. Building a house is not only to be able to do the construction works, to be a craftsman, it's also, I think the most important thing is the process, how you build a house, and especially in these conditions when you said it's, so I recognize some problems, there's a lack of money, there's a lack of material, there's a lack of possibilities for the Roman people, and you also said that there are 5 different Roman communities living together, so it could be difficult, conflicts and so on, but how do they build this house? In case of design, also of function, it's also, in the end, it's a symbol of their own society.
Yeah, it is. It turned into a symbol, and too badly was put on fire, and too badly police said was a thunderstorm. But the process is a long-term process. It started by bringing students. I was teaching in TU Delft, and with Francesco, a partner from the office who's teaching in Rome, we brought the students both. We rented campers, and we went to their camp and lived with them. We turned with campers as nomads. We were visiting them. This was pretty much shocking. This is another very crucial element of our work. It's creating a kind of a condition that people lose the knowledge of who you are. I mean, so that can lose the the normal position when he claims something, or he just blames somebody, or just preconceived relationships. So by seeing us, this all started a new way of relating, eating together, living together, and also the students and some of the Roma, they started to detach from both sides. So we started to kind of create a mediation, not a mediation, but an in-between community that's based on the disponibility of transform ourselves and to do it together, based on the willing of do some creative process together, based on the willing of being ourselves enabled to react to some certain issue that we don't like. So we